everybody, and
Hey,
welcome
guys.
to the Beach Theory. I almost said house. Michael
Welcome
usually
to
does
Beach
this
Theory.
part.
Welcome to Beach Theory.
Now you have to burp. 'cause
This
I
is
did
season
your part.
3.
Good job. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you.
Thank you. Season 3. Season 3. Tres. This is exciting. We've documented our entire childhood and lives together.
Yep.
That means we've documented like 30 years of life
That's pretty cool.
over like, I don't know how many episodes we've done now, but it's been like a year and a half since we started this podcast.
I'm really excited because
I think we're almost at 100 episodes.
wow. Ultimately we want to have like a book. Turn all of
I
this into
do.
a book. And I was just barely thinking about that. Like, you know, if we turn it into a book, it's kind of the same as if you have a good editor or not a good editor with a video. Like, I think it could be a really interesting story if we get somebody that could pin it together in the correct way. You know what I mean?
I kind of want to do that.
You
I-
do?
I
He's
wanna-
always wanted to write a book.
I want to transcribe all the podcasts.
Yeah.
And then I want to put it into like
The right order.
it would
and-
really read like you were listening to the conversation.
Mhm.
Basically, it would be no different if you listened to it, watched it on YouTube, or read the book. You're
Mhm.
going to get the same experience
Yeah.
across the board, except that with reading the book, you won't hear the emotion and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But how
Which
can
is
you really-
important with some of the things.
But that's
Yeah.
always that's always hard to
a
convey.
book, that's where you need a good editor. That's what I'm saying. Because, like, if you have a good editor, then they'll be able to express the emotion that's necessary for those stories
Right.
in a, like,
Unless the book is
relatable way.
literally just conversations with Michael and Rebecca, you know, something
Yeah.
like that.
um.
It's not going to read like a novel.
So something, subject change, but something that
Yeah, what's today's
I
topic?
want
What's the
to
topic?
talk about is
Wait, before you get into that, guys, leave us some comments because for season 3,
yes,
we want to have it be much more like interactive. Like we're going to talk about like specifically theories about ideas and ways of life and ways of being. Like we really talked a lot about our history in the first 2 seasons, but season 3 we're going to mix it up and it's going to be a lot more like Q&A with you guys. So give us topics specifically that you want us to talk about. Maybe things that you're struggling with in your life and you need some advice or guidance or direction. And I'm not saying that we know everything, but that's at least we could give you our perspective.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is our theory, right? Like, it's just a conversation we're having. And that's actually kind of what I wanted to talk about is like, we love having deep conversations about things that really matter. Like, yes, we joke. We joke all day, every day. Like, we're always making jokes and trying to crack each other
Especially
up
her.
and make each other laugh. What joke did I make today? Oh, I said a bad joke today. Never mind. I can't say it on here. Actually, I can say it on here.
It was dirty.
No. You know when like somebody's really innocent and they say the wrong thing? I was hoping that it would come across that way. And Michael was totally like, you know what you're saying, right? But it was funny because I was sitting in the shower, which is where I have all of my deepest thoughts. And I was thinking about this clothing rack that I put up on Facebook for sale. And I've been having a lot of interest in it. And I was like, oh, I want to tell Michael about that. And then I was like, I know exactly how to tell Michael about that. Hey, tons of people love my rack.
You're like, I took a picture of my rack and put it up online.
I put it on Facebook.
I've been getting lots of messages.
I've been getting a lot of really interested messages. Interested in my rack. I tried to say it so seriously.
I was like, do you even realize what you're saying right now? You probably have no idea.
And I was
You're
like,
so innocent.
and I was trying so hard to get him to believe that I was that innocent. And then eventually I was just like, you know, my clothing rack. And he's like, oh.
Ha ha ha.
It's that type
You're
of thing.
so
all,
funny.
that type of thing all the time. Except for not usually with a bad joke.
Yeah, that's about as dirty as you get.
But it was really funny. Anyways, so let's talk about fighting.
Okay.
What is the worst fight you've ever been in your entire life that you can remember? Ooh, his eyebrows just got raised up.
I was not expecting that question.
Oh.
I don't try to remember those experiences.
You buried them in the recesses of your brain
I
somewhere.
pretend they never happened. Well, usually when I forget or forgive someone else,
forget about
I
it?
forget about it. Just pretend like it never happened.
Okay, in general, at what point in your life did you fight the most?
When I was a teenager,
And what was it mostly about?
selfishness.
Growing up?
Just wanting things my way and not getting my way, and so I'd yell and scream. It was very emotionally charged, loud. Like I was a way
Squeaky
that you've
voice.
never seen me. you
That's
know?
true. Yeah.
And so, like, if things weren't going my way, or people weren't doing things the way I wanted, I would scream and I'd yell and I'd throw stuff and I'd, that's probably the most like fighting I've ever done. But as an adult,
it was always with family, never with like
Yeah.
friends or strangers or
no, yeah, just family.
he's super chill. Like always giving people benefit of a doubt. Like
I think it was a lot like James. Like you
feel comfortable around your family, comfortable enough to fight sometimes.
Right. But I mean, you see James and he's a good kid. He's a hard worker. But when he gets pushed, he goes over the top
Yeah.
with his emotions and his screaming. And that's how I was. Same thing.
And same thing for me. So like it's just interesting because I watched a home video of Michael as a kid.
And you always bring up
I
this
always
one
bring it up
story.
because that's the only reference I have. But it was just, he just got mad playing sports with his dad. He just got mad and yelled, and it shocked me when I saw it as an adult being married to him, because that's not him. I was like, whoa, that's not familiar to me. He does not do that anymore. And it was just really, really, well, first of all, that's comforting to me, knowing that like you've come so far.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, you would have seen some video if my family had a video camera. That's the thing. We didn't have a video camera, so I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Because you would have probably seen some things exactly like that. Like, I think I fought the most as a teenager too. Probably, I think what happened was all the way up until I was 14 or 15. Because the person who I fought with the most was my brother Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, we fought a lot, like every day. Basically, I disagreed with almost everything that came out of his mouth, and that was really like, and it was more of a like, I'm going to defend myself, so I'm going to be on the defensive all the time. And then he went on his mission to, the Northwest, and he ended up coming back, and I just remember thinking, I have 2 years with him gone, and when he comes back, I don't want to fight. And so it was like, I think through that whole 2 years, I was like, I'm not going to fight when he gets back. I'm not going to fight when he gets back. I'm not going to fight when he gets back. And that was hard, especially because when he got back, he took my car, which was his car when he first left.
So you took his car.
And then I used it, and it was like,
then don't say
amazing.
He took my car.
You're right. That would start a fight with Andrew.
He just took his car back from you, who took it from him.
Which was very frustrating.
And he probably never even gave you permission to drive it while I was gone.
I can't remember the details.
And it was his
but
car.
I do know that I had permission to use it.
By
That's
your
what I
mom and
do
dad,
know.
who didn't have the authority because they didn't own it. Your brother Andrew did.
I can't remember.
I bet
But-
that's what it was.
Well, do you want to start a fight about it?
I'm just saying. Let's make sure the facts are clear.
I'm sure there were I know there's nitty gritty details about it that I don't remember that he would probably remember.
This may be
Which is
Geek's
also
theory,
part
but
of.
I still want you to be honest
Stop!
with everything.
That's also part of why we probably fought a lot. Because he does remember little details.
See how she silences me when I start speaking the truth?
Stop! You don't even know. You weren't even there. You weren't even born yet.
Want me to be there. I know you guys. I know things.
Hey, you're making it sound like I'm lying. I wasn't. I just had permission to use his car.
Half-truths.
I had permission to use his car while he was gone. And then when he got back, he took his car back. And it felt like it was my car. So, but it wasn't. And I loved that little car. I even backed into a telephone pole with it. But
That's what you do when you love a car.
yep.
You back into telephone poles.
Oh, you know what? That actually reminded me of something. I only backed into a telephone pole because I was fighting with Steven, my brother.
Wow.
Because for some reason, he had, so he was like, I'm going to go out and get me a job. He was like 14.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, fine, go get a job. Like, that doesn't affect me. Well, turns out it did affect me because my mom was like, you have to get up and drive him around in the paper route, which, by the way, now I would have been like, I'm getting half that money. I'm doing half the work. There's
Mhm.
no way that I don't get paid on it.
I know, that's totally true. You would never submit to that.
He just did a boomerang.
I'm gonna post on Facebook, on Instagram, and say, leave us some questions that you want us to talk about in our next podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So
Do it. Okay. But that same day, it was interesting because I was so angry at Steven because I was forced to go drive him around to do the paper route and didn't want to do it. And I didn't want to do it because he had to wake up at the butt crack of dawn and I hated waking up early and I was not good at it. And melatonin was not invented back then. Just kidding. It probably was, but we didn't use it. Which is how I get to bed at a good time now. And we were yelling at each other after the paper route because I was really frustrated with him and he was really frustrated with me. And lightning, no joke, we were yelling at each other out in the yard and lightning struck a tree right next to us. And it was the loudest, scariest thing that has ever happened. And I was like, sorry, Steven. And he's like, sorry. And we ran in the house like, I think Heavenly Father's mad at us. Like, he legit, lightning bolt was going to strike us down for fighting with each other. I'm like thinking about it now. I'm like, yeah, that's what I pretty much do whenever my kids fight too. If I had the power to lightning bolt, I would use that.
that's really true.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about when I was very close to a lightning bolt?
Are you changing the subject from fighting?
No, you
Okay,
were
that's
just
all right.
saying a story about lightning bolts. I want to tell you a
Yes,
story.
tell me.
So I was at scout camp in Florida as a teenager. I was probably 15. And we were going out into this basketball court and it was all outdoors. So me and my friends went out to this basketball court and there's a bunch of other kids out there playing. And we're like, hey, you guys want to play a game? Let's play a game. And the guys were like, yeah, let's go. Let's play a game. So we're like, all right, we're going to take you guys out. And they're like, no way, we're going to take you guys. So we're like all
Just random people?
trash talking to each other. Yeah, just some other scouts or whatever. So here we are like converging on this basketball court, trash talking to each other, getting ready to like throw down a basketball game. And it was just barely like starting to sprinkle. It's a little bit stormy, but not really like raining.
Yeah.
And then right in that instant before we even started playing, while we were trash talking to each other, a lightning bolt struck right on the basketball court.
Where you were.
And I saw the lightning bolt hit
Whoa.
down. And it was like probably as big around as like a really big tree. Like probably this big. Just like
Oh, my goodness.
right there. We were all like, and it was like deafeningly loud.
Yes. It makes your
everything
ears
shook.
ring and your eyes are like blinded for a second.
I just, in my memory, everything shook and everyone kind of was like, and then we just scattered
Oh!
and ran. And that was like,
At least you weren't fighting for real. You were just pretend fighting.
yeah, it was terrifying.
Wow.
But yeah, that was my experience. It's terrifying.
Wow.
Crazy.
Whew. So, it's worth noting that, like, I think both me and you used to
Mhm.
fight a lot.
Well, I do have memories within our marriage where
No, not with each other. I wasn't thinking about that.
oh.
Well, but maybe I should. Now that you said that.
Well, I was
Go ahead.
gonna say, like, there have been times in our marriage where we would fight for a couple of days about something or other.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't give in. And I remember thinking,
And I have to say, our fighting was never screaming at each other.
no, it wasn't. But it was,
Disagreeing with each other.
and overall, not talking, being angry, being,
I think it,
rude
2
to
days
each other.
was the most anything has ever lasted before we're like, we need to work this
But
out.
there were times where it was like, we might be fighting about something or disagreeing about something, kind of bumping heads. And then we kind of talk a little bit about it and things cool off just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then something else comes to the surface and we're fighting again about something
Yeah.
totally different. But overall, I felt like there was just tension between us.
We were very like, we were so attracted to each other and are so attracted to each other when we were first married. Like,
I'm not even thinking when we were first married. I'm thinking like after several years.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like we were very similar people, but also very different people.
Yeah.
And because of that, like, and we both were leaders in our own respect. So I feel like we butted heads a lot. And like, you know, we both come from families with 9 kids and we both are very close to like the age of, so like he's number 3, and I'm number 4. And so like, of like the 9 kids. And so I was always around lots of younger kids, bossing them around, and he was too. And so we get married and we start doing that to each other and it just didn't work.
Definitely did not work. Yeah, for sure. So we've had our disagreements and it's been really hard. But in those moments, I remember thinking like, we have bad marriage. We don't get along very well.
This is the thing about Michael. If like when bad things happen, it's almost like everything is bad.
I just have a hard time like handling it. I think at the time I remember thinking we just always are fighting. We're always disagreeing.
It feels like always when
even
it's
if
that
it's just
impactful.
One day. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when things are good, it's like, man, things are really good. We always get along so well, and then we have a bad day.
But overall, I really feel like we haven't fought that much in our
we really
marriage.
do. And I think we've gotten better.
Wait, we really do fight that much?
No, we don't. We do get along.
Okay,
Like,
yeah. Okay, I'm like, wait, we really do?
and
Really?
I think even more so, like, we've been doing YouTube full time now for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest times of our marriage were, you know, several years ago, like maybe
before YouTube.
Maybe when I first quit my job and things were kind of rocky as I was coming and working from home. Before I quit my job when I was still working full time.
Okay, let's talk about this. You're talking timeline of our worst fights and like main disagreements that we've had in our marriage. I would say the very first thing was for me when we were married, like I was so sick and I was basically a different person once we got married because I got pregnant.
Right.
And I think that made a lot of miscommunication with you because, you know, you thought it would be a certain way. And there was a lot of miscommunication that way because it was like we weren't saying what we expected through marriage. In fact, we didn't even know what we really wanted until we were there in the moment. And then we're like, this is what I want. But we never expressed that to each other like beforehand. So I think like, and we've talked about this before where we've talked about how like there's just certain things that you can't prepare for until you figure out who you are in that situation. And then you're like, okay, this is what I want.
Right.
Like sex.
Well, if you've never experienced it, how do you know what your preferences are?
Or how do you know like, yeah, exactly.
And so I think that after getting married, we're like, oh, that's actually, I hate it when that happens. Or, oh, can't stand the way you do this or that.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think we've worked through so many of our biggest disagreements.
Yes.
And we've learned how to communicate so much better over the last 4 years to where we're at a point now in our marriage where it's very rare for us to disagree or fight or argue about anything.
It feels so...
It's almost so foreign now.
Foreign. It feels so like wrong if we ever are mad at each other.
Right.
I think we're mostly on the same page all the time.
But it's taken us years to get to this point.
But yeah, and you're right. And I think like, there's been
not always been this
huge, well, like 1 year into our marriage, we had a big fight about how often we would.
Is that all the thing? That's not the only thing we ever fought about.
No, it wasn't.
But you're making it sound like.
No, but we did have a disagreement and we were like, okay, we have to just like both compromise. And we both compromised and came to a solution and that's worked ever since. But like, there's been that, and then there was like parenting, and then there was like schooling, and like just big major fights throughout the years. And I say big major.
I think our biggest arguments have been about things that we're both very passionate about.
Yeah.
like very strong decision, like I feel very powerfully about this thing, and you're like, well, I'm the complete opposite and I also feel really passionate. Those are our biggest fights. It's not usually trivial stuff.
No.
But I will say that trivial stuff definitely wears away at your tolerance
For the bigger stuff.
for the bigger stuff, right? Like, one thing that bothers me a lot is you're constantly leaving lights on wherever you go.
I'm sorry.
It's just so absent-minded. It's not intentional. You're just kind of like, well, I just turn on all the lights in the house and it's the middle of the day.
And I think it's somewhat my eyesight too. Like I have bad eyesight, and if I turn on the lights, it makes it a little bit better. So I just no thought to turn off the light, because that's also like taking off my glasses, and it's really irritating to take off my glasses. But see, it's these little conversations though that are important, because I feel like without them, there's no understanding for where the other person is coming from.
Yeah.
And like, I think a lot of people don't have these conversations. I feel like in a lot of marriages, you might say that, and I might be like, no, I don't want to. And then you might be like, you won't budge for me. Like, and that means to you, you don't love me. You know what I mean? Like, but these are all just like inner thoughts, or you don't even care what I feel.
Right.
Like, you don't even care about my feelings, which translates to you don't love me, or you're not loving me right now
enough to care.
Yeah. Where it's like, no, that's not it at all. There needs to be communication there, to like work through these, even the little things. I feel like it can't be like a brother-sister thing where it's like you just fight about it and you just ignore each other and then you just scream and, I love you. Like, no, it's like, I think what has made our relationship so good is that we have started with the most important things that have bothered us the most, one thing at a time, 1 month at a time, whatever, and like worked through those things until we actually feel good.
And I think on top of that, something that's really been a huge difference maker with our way of communicating and working through disagreements is our like deep, powerful desire and love for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I genuinely am like, I want you to be so happy. I want you to be, well taken care of. I want you to be, excited about life, and I don't want to stifle that. And so,
see, those things that you just said don't get said enough in people's relationships.
I think a lot of relationships, I think they get so frustrated with each other. Like, everything starts off with a lot of love and infatuation, and, and then they get married. But when they start having those hard times, you're like, you're so inconsiderate. You don't care about my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't care about my feelings. You don't really love me. You don't really even care that much. And I think it just rubs away, and it becomes raw to the point where it's like they're so upset by the other person.
They're not feeling that love
they'll go
anymore.
out of their way to try to make the other person more upset, and more like they'll actually poke and prod each other to try to make them angry, because that's how they feel they're being treated. But not intentionally, but yeah, that's how they feel.
Yeah.
So if I was frustrated by you leaving lights on, I might do something intentionally to upset you, just to try to get back at you for disrespecting my preferences.
Yeah.
And
Which we have done in the past.
Right. And it's kind of a downward spiral versus when you just genuinely are like, I just flat out love you and I want you to be so happy.
Yeah.
And I'll do anything I can to make you happier, whatever it takes. If you want to leave all the lights on, fine. I'm going to be perfectly happy with that because I know that it brings you joy or whatever. Like, that you're willing to do those things. And then it becomes an upward spiral of, I do something kind for you, and then you're so thankful, like you do something out of your way, unasked for, kind for me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the best wife, and I'm going to do something even better for you. Like, it just goes up, 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 up.
And let me just say something. Let me insert something right now. Can you imagine if I, in this moment, said something sarcastic like, I knew you would see my way about lights, or, that's not sarcastic, but like if I said something sarcastic, or if I brought in like a jab somehow, I feel like that would undo all the progress that we have made in this conversation of just trying to understand each other.
I think something else really important is openness and no like judgment. Vulnerability. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be able to speak my heart and soul to you, and I have no fear that you're going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like opening up my most sensitive, tender,
Yeah.
like spiritual.
See, what you're saying right now too is just so good, because I feel like we've learned that over time, that we can't just jump into a deep conversation and not prepare the other person for it, so that they're like, okay, first thing, what we say is, first thing, I love you.
Ooh, that's when I know something's coming.
And that's the most important thing.
Okay.
I love you.
Okay. I'm
I
ready.
truly do.
Right.
But we need to work through this thing.
Okay.
If we don't start off the conversation that way, I think it just sets people up for failure in a way.
Well, it's like we're
'Cause
having
they
a great.
defend themselves instantly.
There's been times that you've done that. We're having this great day. We just went on a date. Maybe we're having a good time and we just got dinner or whatever. We're having a great conversation. You're like, oh, and by the way, I really hate the way you do this thing. And I'm like, where did that come
stab
from?
in the heart.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought we were having a good day, and now you're just
Yeah.
gonna ruin it with like this horror. Okay, fine. I guess that's where we're going. And it's a lot harder to take that
Oh yeah.
when it comes out of the blue. Oh, by the way,
Mhm. Usually, if I ever do anything like that, it's like I'm close to my period, or I don't feel well. You know what I mean? Or I'm pregnant.
You lose
Pregnant
all
is
tact.
really hard to have tact for me. Like, I just say things, and I'm so much less sensitive. Like,
and there's
I'm
also
very insensitive because I'm so much more sensitive in other ways.
and also there's been times where you're like, hey, I really want to talk about something, and I'm like, I'm really overwhelmed by something else, and my mind is on that thing, and I just can't handle it right now.
And in the beginning of our marriage, I would have said, too bad. We need to talk about it right now. So, but now in our marriage, I know it's worth the wait. Like, if you are in a stressful place, or if
I'm overwhelmed by a project that that's consuming my mind, and I'm
Yeah.
like stressed out by this thing, and
Yeah.
you're like, hey, let's have this really deep conversation, and I'm in the mood to talk about it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I just can't handle that right now.
But there is one, is it called a caveat or whatever, where there's one exception where it's like, if it's really, 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 really important, like now, and it's
If
more
it's
important,
urgent.
if it's
There's a
urgent,
difference.
then
Right, I
we
feel like we
have
have
to
to
do it now.
If it's something that's like, oh, by the way, this thing is happening in a half hour,
Yeah.
and we need
Yeah.
to talk about this,
hmm
then it's like, okay, well, now we do have to talk about it
Which
right now.
is interesting, because sometimes if we're in the middle of a fight, we have to go to film a video and we have to act all happy.
Oh, those are the
or
hard
like
ones.
or like we have to go and we're gonna be at somebody else's house, and like it will be obvious that we are angry at each other, and we're like, we need more time to work through this, but we don't have the time to work through this. And sometimes we
Man.
legit put on a happy face and go out and they're like, everything is good, and then
As
we
soon as
have
we're done.
a good time, and as soon as we're done, we're like, okay, let's talk about this. We have to
Yeah.
move on. I feel like I can't remember a time where we have legit hold on, I just forgot what I was going to say. Where we have legit just left a fight the way it is.
Unresolved.
Actually, there is one, and that is just homeschool versus public school.
It's just kind of an ongoing debate where
Yeah.
we're constantly like,
But we're not like fighting,
no, it's just like it's a consistent disagreement.
Yeah.
You always want to do things a little bit differently. I always want to do things a little bit differently. And we just constantly are compromising and compromising.
And I feel like that one we haven't gotten to like the perfect compromise yet, but we still are working
Well,
on it.
that's just the thing is, though, there's some things where I don't think there is a perfect compromise that will last forever, because the situation is always changing.
Yeah.
The
That's
kids
true.
the kids are growing up, and so what might be right now might not be right in 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I feel like we find a compromise that works right now.
Mhm.
And in 6 months, we're like, we need to talk about this because that's not working, and we're in a new situation, and so we need to reevaluate.
Yeah. You know what's funny is back in the day when we were doing vlogging, I always felt the urge to have a fight on camera. And by have a fight on camera, I meant disagree with each other and work it out on camera to show our viewers how we do it.
It's not pretty.
No. It's nitty-gritty details of things we're irritated by, and we want, but the thing is, like,
And
we always
and
start it with, I
and
love
it's-
you, and we need to work it out.
It's also a very long process. Sometimes our deep, hard conversations go on for hours
Or days.
with long pauses in
Mhm.
between, like
Mhm.
where I'm thinking or you're thinking. Like
Mhm.
it's you really have to be. I don't know. Like if
You
we
have
were
to
to
be there, but we wouldn't let you be there
we
because
were
it would be too uncomfortable for you to be there.
there's a very small percentage, a very few select people that would actually be interested in watching that kind of a conversation.
I don't think so. I disagree. Let's have a fight.
So
No,
desperate.
but really, but I'm serious. I think there's a much higher percentage than you think. I do want to hear back from you guys and your opinions on this. Now that we have a disagreement, pick a side. No, I'm just saying, like, do you think a lot of people would like to hear how a fight is worked out? Because I truly believe there's a very, very high percentage of people that never resolve them. Even the little things that just butt heads constantly. And I think there's three things that happen when you get in a fight. I think you either fight, or you have apathy and you just kind of
Roll over.
go numb,
Yeah.
or you work it out.
Right.
And like, I think those three things happen I think the working it out is the least common
Yeah.
of all of them. Like, because if not, where would our world be today if we were able to truly work out fights with each other?
Well, we'd have world peace.
We would. And so I know that the percentage is very low.
I think the hardest thing for me about the idea of filming a true disagreement or
Mhm.
argument is just knowing that the camera is there
I know. I agree. with
will affect
The
how
way
we
you say.
communicate.
Well, because here's another thing. It's not only
Because I might think I don't want to look bad to the
yes,
world,
and that's the
but
thing.
between us,
It's
I
like,
can be
I
my
can-
true raw.
I'm gonna look bad,
ugly.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, we disagree often. It's not something that we don't ever disagree, and so we don't ever fight. It's like, no, we have disagreements all the time. We just know how to work through them.
Mhm.
But the hard part about putting a disagreement online is people pick sides. And all of a sudden they go, oh, well, I completely agree with this person. And it's like, unless you have love for that person, you could totally just disregard the other person and hate them,
There would be people who would see our communication and it would trigger them to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Michael would say that.
Yeah.
I can't believe his viewpoint. He's such a horrible person. And the way he talks to you is so
because
disrespectful.
there's a lack of love, because they didn't marry you. Like,
Right.
they're not married to you, and they're not invested. That's the thing. Like, we are so invested in our relationship. We want it to work. We
Right.
love each other. And that's really the only thing that has kept us together through all of these disagreements. But anyone online, you're not married to us. Like, you don't have to be invested. You can say very hurtful things or make very snap judgments that, not only would you not see the full picture, but it would be really, really easy for you to just pick a side and hate the other person from that point on. So I do see like the danger. There's a legit danger in fighting in front of people. And I know this because I'm part of the Becca and Ryan show, and everybody hates me on the Becca and Ryan show. No, they don't hate me, but they definitely pick Ryan's side because they feel bad for him.
You also have plenty of supporters. Whenever there's like a contest or whatever,
That's
there's
true.
plenty of people that are like, I don't even care what it is. Becca wins.
Oh, that's so funny. I love the Becca and Ryan show though, and it's all not serious. We are never actually mean to each other ever. Like,
They would call daylight nighttime if it meant that they were siding with you. Like, that's how strong people are.
when
to
I'm
your
obviously
team.
lying. I do like it when I'm obviously lying or doing something wrong and they're like, I love Becca. She's the one. She's right. And it's like, obviously, I'm not.
It's funny though.
Oh, yeah, it's all in good fun. And I think that's another good point. is like we laugh a lot. We joke a lot. And I know we already talked about that, but like I think that's super helpful if we are having a conversation that's so tense that you can feel the thickness in the air. Brian has walked in on us having conversations before that he's like literally walked in, looked around for a minute, and slowly backed away. And we're like, talk to you later.
That's probably a good idea to walk away.
Wait, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought.
I don't know. What were you gonna say?
Probably just that, like, oh yeah, humor in those moments is important. Like, if it's so thick, if it's so,
I find it to be distracting and disrespectful sometimes.
Sometimes, but also sometimes you appreciate it. Tell the truth.
Just depends on how good you are at telling your humor.
It depends on how good the joke is.
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
If it's like a crappy joke, I'm like, I'm not.
That's
amused.
not even fun. And then I'm like, too soon.
But then there's other times where you crack a joke and I'm like,
and then we laugh a little bit and then we get right back to our conversation. But it's helpful, I think.
when
Even
done,
you make jokes sometimes. You have to admit it.
The only reason I do it is because I know you love it. Because I would never do that in a conversation with my family.
That's true. That is so true. I have tried to crack jokes when you were having a conversation with your family. It is not a good
It's a bad idea.
But in my family, it's like we can't even have a straight conversation unless
I can't tell you how shocked I was the first time I was in a family council and everyone's talking about very serious things with your
in my
family.
family.
And all of a sudden your dad tells a joke and everyone's laughing and I'm like,
What is happening?
how strange. It was so bizarre.
That just makes me laugh. And the thing is, the reason why it makes me laugh is because I have been to his family council meetings and it is 100% different than that. That's the tense
There
you
was
can cut
no
through,
joking
you know,
in our
like,
family councils.
and if I joke, and I have tried, I have done it, and if you can imagine the most awkward scene in any movie that's a comedy, that's it. Except it doesn't have the laughing at the end of it, which is even worse. Because it's like, I crack this joke, and it's legit like crickets, and everybody's looking at me like, what are you doing?
Read the room.
And I'm
Do
like,
you even know?
I'm like doing that thing that Ryan does where he's like, backing away
I'm
slowly.
just gonna go over here now.
Okay,
Pretend
goodbye.
I don't exist.
I've done it too many times to count. It's just like so. Oof, that is so nerve wracking. I think I have PTSD from that. Just kidding. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's arguments.
That's arguments. We've had some good ones.
I
What's
think
our
we've
worst
had one
fight?
or two here on the podcast.
Yeah, we probably have.
Or we've had some really good disagreements.
Yeah, what's the worst we've ever disagreed in real life? The meanest, most angry fight we've ever had.
I don't remember. I don't think we've ever had a fight. Like
It's never been an... Actually, no! I remember! You, when we were first married and I was still strong, if we ever disagreed, I would start to try and wrestle you. And you once pinned me down and did... drum roll, please, or suspenseful music, please. Spit yo-yos over my face. It was the most maddening I had. That was so frustrating. I was so angry. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that is fun when we wrestle, because you do get really mad.
I get really mad.
Because I am stronger than you, I am heavier than you,
And I still win you.
and you never win me.
Oh my goodness.
And it makes you
You are
really
about
angry.
to get it.
I always win.
We're gonna have to
There's
move these
nothing-
microphones out of the way.
There's nothing you
Something's
can
gonna get broken. You better watch out. Seriously though.
Why are you
If-
so anxious to fight? This is like the first of all the things. Season 3. What's the first thing I want to talk about in season 3? Fighting.
But
You got some tension? You need to like.
yeah, I need a punching bag, and you're it. Just kidding. Actually, I did used to have a punching bag that was very helpful.
I remember.
But
Saved me a lot.
also, he's never hit me, slapped me, hurt me, except for when you did spit yo-yos. That hurt. That hurt.
You deserve it.
You're probably right, except for I think we were full on disagreeing with each other about something, and we just would not let go.
You attacked me. It's true.
You're probably right.
I am right.
But this is making me want to fight you. Prove my strength.
You want to wrestle with me?
Yeah.
I'll win.
I'm
Always-
heavy right now.
I'm a lot
I could
heavier.
sit on you.
I could squish you.
Don't watch this on YouTube. I mean, watch this on YouTube. Don't listen to it. Just kidding. I don't know. Cut that part out. I don't know what I was trying to say.
Good times. Ready to wrap it up?
I think so.
Okay. You're really pretty.
Thanks.
I really like you.
Will you ever say sorry for doing spit yo-yos on my face?
Nope.
You've done it now.
If I do something and I'm justified in
Punch!
doing it, I will not apologize.
I just punched him right in the face.
Because to say sorry.
If you want to
means-
see us fighting, watch us on YouTube.
Because to say sorry means to say that what I did was wrong and I should not have done it. And if I could go back,
Do you
I
even
would
remember
not
why
have
you
done
did it?
no. But I
Of
know.
course you don't.
But I know that it was justified.
Not
Because I'm a reasonable person.
reasonable enough to do spit yo-yos in my face.
To a woman who was attacking me.
That's what's gonna
Definitely
win too.
not justified attacking.
Oh my goodness.
Are you tired already?
I don't want to break these microphones, and I know my ultimate strength when I start going Super Saiyan will probably ruin them. So
Well, I'm proud of you for knowing
Saving
what a
our
Super
microphones.
Saiyan is.
I don't, but I just know you say that. Just kidding.
All right, I think let's wrap up this episode of Beach Theory. Guys, please leave us some comments. Ask us some questions.
What's your worst fight you've ever been in?
Uh,
Oh, when I was a kid, I got in a fight at school, and this girl pushed me down and punched me in the face.
Talk about when you were taking Taekwondo.
Ooh, I forgot about that. In high school, oh yeah, I forgot about that too. In high school, I did it was kung fu, kickboxing, and it was really interesting because I feel like I had to switch my brain completely from like protection mode or like mothering mode to like I'm gonna kill you mode. And it wasn't even like, you know how I feel like men can do this much easier than women, where they just switch to fight mode and then they get over with it and it's like not a big deal. But when women get in a fighting mode, it's scary because I feel like there's like no holds barred. It's just like it's dangerous. Anyways, I got in a fight with my
Because it's life or death.
yeah, it really is. Like, it's really scary because I can't just jokingly punch somebody. I can't. Well, that was not
Spit yo-yo,
real.
here it comes.
No, my goodness. I'm much stronger now. I've been working all these years
I
to
could
be able to defend myself.
I could still do it.
Don't.
Okay.
Okay. But I did get in a fight with my friend, and it was a very serious fight. It was very interesting because the tension in the air was very thick when the girls had to fight, and we wouldn't fight each other, until the teacher was like, "Come on, do it." And then it was like full on serious mode. I'm gonna kill you. It was so weird.
Didn't you like black out and just like or something?
No. But
You like lose all rationale and
No.
just like
no, it just I'm like, okay, something in your brain switches and you cannot think about the loving tenderness of anyone else. Like, you just have to be willing to hurt people, and that's so
Killer.
weird.
Yeah.
But we did end up fighting each other, and I can't remember. I think I was good at kicking, and we started punching each other, but she punched me right. My friend, one of my best friends in high school, punched me right in the jaw, and it made me black out and fall to the floor. And I think I got a bruise or something. But I've never heard of people blacking out from getting punched in the jaw. It was so weird. It made me completely black out, fall to the floor. But it was very crazy. Yeah, like for some reason I was just like, whoa, okay. I don't remember much more about it. Probably lost all my
It worked.
lost all my memories. Wait, what are we talking about?
Thank you guys for watching Beast Theory. This is a good episode.
Yeah.
Fighting is fun.
When you
win.
compromise and you both feel better
That's
at the
true.
end.
That's true.
And actually, it's not fun.
I'm surprised you didn't correct me earlier.
That's what is this? We've traded places. You're the one making jokes and serious conversations, and I'm the one correcting you and saying, "What are you doing?"
Whoa.
It's happening more and more often. I feel like we're switching places. Anyways, that's a subject for another day.
Thanks, guys, for watching Beast Theory. We really appreciate your support. Make sure to leave us a comment on YouTube.
Yes.
You can send us a you can send us a voice response comment on Anchor and ask us some questions.
Can we use their actual voices on here?
We sure can.
So, if you do leave a voice comment, just know that it might actually be put into the podcast to be heard. So,
Ask us some
don't
serious
say any swear words.
question, advice, whatever
Yeah.
you have. Tell us the story and we'll give you our 2 cents.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
I know, I'm excited.
All right, let's do it. Bye.
Beach Theory out.